I've been speaking to a number of people recently regarding awakening, their path of awakening, and I've been lucky to be alongside them, offering some guidance, often just an ear, maybe the odd pointer. And there's a theme, let's say, that seems to come up again and again about people's experience, and they feel a little lost, they feel a little overwhelmed. And the theme is something like, I've had an awakening, or I've had what seemed to be an awakening experience, let's say, even though it's not really an experience, but yeah, there's been a shift in identity. And I thought that was going to give me freedom from thought. But now, months later, I seem to be thinking more than ever. And my thoughts are, they're so deeply heard and felt, they're so apparent that it causes me quite a lot of, discomfort. And they think that something's gone wrong. Almost like, I've lost my awakeness, almost. Oh, I can't be doing it right. I can't be awake because I'm thinking so much. So I seem to be hearing that quite a lot. So I thought maybe I could just offer a few words of encouragement to people in that boat. So if that resonates with you at all, what I've just described, and you're going through that at the moment, it's okay. This is kind of how it goes. And the reason it feels like it's maybe a problem or there's something not quite right is that all our lives we have been conditioned to believe that the thinking mind can provide us something lasting, specifically lasting safety and happiness. And we identified with that thinking mind. So prior to awakening, you could say that we were just fully mind identified, moving through the world as a character in thought, trying to get satisfaction in things, trying to create solidity in this world of impermanence through thought. And then upon awakening, you kind of pull the rug out from underneath that mechanism. So you see clearly for the first time, really deeply for the first time, and it becomes embedded that, I'm not what I thought I was. That character that I took myself to be, I'm way more than that. So then that thought mechanism kind of falls over. Certainly the thought mechanism that relies upon self-belief or self-view, that falls over. And in the first instance, there's so much freedom and space and stillness, what's often called the honeymoon period. But after a while, you'll start recognizing that the thinking mind wants to fire up again. And the reason for this is because the habit of thought to move in order to try and provide safety to us as a being is a deep, deep conditioned habit. It's the habit of a lifetime, in fact. And anyone who's ever had a habit knows that they don't just suddenly stop because you've got a habit. You can't go, I know that I smoke, therefore I no longer need to smoke, or the habit or the craving towards nicotine is no longer there, as an example. It's slightly different. And it's different because the thing that you're addicted to, the thing that you're craving, let's say, or the body's craving, this self-identification through thought, it's the most addictive thing in life. I would say that addiction to self. So once we see through the self-view, and there's been an awakening Kensho, stream entry, you can call it whatever you like, but once there's been that and there's been this honeymoon period, then from this place of knowing that we are no longer this character, and from this place of embodying this being in the moment, we get to see how that habit of thought reacted to just the everyday hustle and bustle of life. And it reacted almost neurotically to try and keep us safe. And the reason it's so uncomfortable for a lot of us at that time is because it seems to be reacting all the time. It seems to be, I was chatting to a friend the other day online, and I was saying it kind of makes sense if, the mind would flare up, the thinking, thought train of mind would flare up after awakening if, I don't know, like a family member gets really ill. It's a pretty, there's a lot of stakes there, aren't there? People that I love are ill. But it's not like that. It seems to get flared up at, the bus is late. Like, I need to plan, how am I going to get this? And there's just this neurotic thought train just starts flying down the track. And often we're halfway down the track before we even notice what's happened. But the beauty of having had an awakening is that we're not lost inside that web of thought. It will run out of steam. We do have the ability to reflect and move out of it into the more felt sense of presence. But if we don't acknowledge what's going on with thought and recognize that this thinking mind is simply trying to keep us safe when we encounter situations, and when a feeling, normally an emotion, arises in the body in relation to the world, if we don't recognize that that's what's going on and it's natural, then we're going to be bound to that thinking, neurotic, self-perpetuating habit of mind forever, really. I mean, if we want to unbind from it, we need to look at what role is thought playing. Because, as you've probably seen throughout all of your life, it's got an engine on it. It does not run out of steam, this thinking train. It self-perpetuates, it fuels itself in thought. So, if you're in a situation and you're finding yourself lost in thought quite a lot, thinking that you should be more awake than this, that's completely natural. Like I said before, it's okay. You've not done anything wrong. You haven't lost it. You cannot lose your true nature. But maybe take the time the next time that this thought train arises, take the time first of all to just simply see it. Just simply see, oh, there it is. There is that mechanism of mind that's got its own momentum, which is born out of habit, trying to keep me safe in the moment. And then we can recognize at that point of mindfulness where we see, there is what they call in Buddhism, prapancha, self-perpetuating thought. There is self-perpetuating thought, and I can see it. And at that moment, I can then ask myself, well, what do I need to feel right now? What is driving this thought train along the tracks? And maybe just invite yourself into the body. So you see the thoughts, you see the thought train, you interrupt it with mindfulness and just clarity. You go, oh, that's happening. Just very gently. And then maybe say, well, how does this body feel right now? And come into the felt sense of the moment. Maybe feel your feet on the floor at that moment. Feel the breeze against your skin. Take a deep breath in and allow a long breath out. And notice how the body is feeling. And you might start to notice, oh, okay, the body is feeling held, tense, constricted in certain areas. And you can sense that it's this energy within the body that's driving the mind to try and escape from it. And you might also, when you start feeling into the body, gain access to the trigger. I say the trigger, there's loads of triggers, but probably the event over the last day, 2 days, that fired up this reaction in the body that resulted in the mind running for the hills. You might not be able to remember it in thought, but once you start feeling into the body, that memory just kind of comes up, really. And you might recognize, oh yeah, that thing that my boss said to me was really mean. And I feel, this feeling is one of neglect. I feel like I'm being neglected by the people I work for, then they don't value me, as an example. And you can feel into the truth of what went on, as opposed to being lost in a story of the mind that's trying to fix an imagined problem. It's subtle work. It takes time and patience, but we've got time. We're here. What else are we going to do? And the more patient we are, the more patient we become as well. We nurture and we cultivate patience also. So don't worry too much if you're, like I said, if you've had an awakening, or you seem to have had an awakening, but you feel like, I keep losing it and I keep getting lost in thought. Thought is completely natural and it takes a while to unbind from. And now the work is to see when the thinking mind reactively fires up, and recognize that this is a safety mechanism, a response to something felt in the body in the moment. And then we invite presence back into the body to explore what needs to be felt. And we're gentle with ourselves. We don't should ourselves into thinking, you can see where we go into thinking, that I should be more awake, I should be better, I shouldn't be thinking so much. All of that is just more thought stuff, more fuel for the fire. So be gentle, explore, and like I said, if you are in a situation, you're not the only one. Thanks for listening.